Marinaro, today was NHL trade deadline day, and the Montreal Canadiens were unable to make a move. That's okay. What were they going to do tonight versus the Anaheim Ducks? Well, the Canadiens became the first team in the National Hockey League to give up 2 goals on the other team's first shot. We'll talk about that in just a second. The Canadiens were up by a score of 2-1. Then they trailed by a score of 4-2. With about 12 minutes left in the third period. Then they ended up taking a 5-4 lead, but unfortunately, they weren't able to hang on, and the Montreal Canadiens lose in a very long shootout by a score of 6-5. Who played well? Who didn't? What went right? What went wrong? We break it all down coming up in 3 short minutes on your number one Habs postgame show in the world. Thank you very much. My guest will be Pierre McGuire. Stay with us. Coming up, Canadiens lose 6-5 in the shootout.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your number one sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-k,
All in, we came in to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the Ducks!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Montreal Canadiens lose by a score of 6-5 in the shootout. Without further ado, I bring in Pierre McGuire.
The McGuire Report. Presented by Vago Italian.
Restaurant Vago Italian, open 23 years. Not many restaurants open that long. Longevity, that's what they have. They also have service. They also have food. They also have pricing. They also they know how to do it. That's why they've been doing it that long. They have it figured out. Private dining rooms for any occasions, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings. Plenty of free parking after 6, open Monday to Saturday evenings and lunch Tuesday to Friday. Fresh quality ingredients, old world Italian classics and new Italian. Come see Tommaso, the most popular man in Westmount, at the front of the house, and his partner, of course, Angelo, at the back of the house. Pierre McGuire, we're going to talk about this Montreal Canadiens 6-5 loss in a shootout in just a minute. But because I haven't had the chance to talk to you all day, your thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens not making a move today on NHL trade deadline day?
I wasn't very happy, to be totally fair. I saw what the Buffalo Sabres had done. I saw what the Detroit Red Wings did. I saw, earlier in the pre-trade deadline what some of the other teams were doing around them. And, I hope they can overcome it. I don't know what the price points were and the players they were dealing with because I haven't spoken to anybody there, but they lost ground today. So Buffalo's going to be very difficult to play against. Now, they don't have a lot of playoff experience, but they brought in, a guy that's won the Stanley Cup more than once, Luke Schenn. They're going to be a tough out. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. Everybody knows that. Tony, I guess the best way to say it, I was a bit disappointed.
Pierre, I love what the Buffalo Sabres did. And you know what? Anytime you make a move, obviously a player comes over. Sometimes they're a little bit uncomfortable. It takes a while for them. Their new surroundings, new team, new teammates, new culture, new system. I love what they did. They went to Winnipeg. They grabbed two guys. They grabbed two guys who are teammates, who know each other, who play together. They're going to play them together as a duo. They're going to play them together on the penalty kill. It's going to make the transition from one team to another and one city to another and one system to another. It's going to make it so much easier for them. I love what the Sabres did. They were already big and strong and had depth before today's deadline, but obviously pulling off those moves late last night the way they did, I love what the Sabres did. I have to say this. I understand if the Montreal Canadiens didn't want to pay a big price today. I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. And Kent Hughes told us a year ago that some of the bigger moves are actually made in the offseason. And on trade deadline day, a lot of teams tend to overpay. Now, he also did tell us at the golf tournament that he'd be willing to overpay if he had to at this stage, if he can get a player that had term, if he can get a player who had many good years ahead of him. There were some of those players available. Some of them went, some of them didn't. But I'll say this. Here's what I don't understand. I don't understand, at the very least, not going out to acquire a depth defenseman. I mean, I don't know your thoughts, but I was taking a look at Forks, and it's not flashy and it's not sexy. But if you don't want to give up a lot, I was taking a look at, for example, a Trevor Van Riemsdyk. In his final year with the Washington Capitals. The Capitals had already traded John Carlson. Here's a 12-year veteran in the National Hockey League. Here's a guy who defensively is pretty good 5-on-5. Here's a guy who actually plays the penalty kill. Here's a guy who blocks shots. Here's a guy who is a leader on his hockey team. Here's a guy who, in his rookie season, I think won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks. He didn't play much, but he's been around. I would have figured the price to pay for a guy like that wouldn't have been very big. And by the way, there are other right-handed defensemen that weren't moved either today that I don't think the price would have been very big to pay. But I have to tell you, Pierre, once I saw all the defensemen getting moved going back 4 or 5 days, starting with Connor Murphy, and the Canadiens weren't in on it, I was starting to ask myself if they actually wanted a right-hand defenseman to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I would say you're making some pretty logical conclusions. again, just as somebody that cares about the team and evaluating other teams around the league, especially in their own division, I would say they're not where Tampa is. They're not where Buffalo is. They may not be where Detroit is. I know Detroit lost tonight, but let's see how it all plays out. And who knows what's going to happen with Boston and what's going to happen with Columbus, even though they're not in the division. I mean, this is getting, okay, they lose in San Jose. We'll see what, they get a point tonight. Let's see what they do tomorrow in LA. I'm getting worried, though, Tony. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought this thing would be a little bit smoother for them, and it's not right now. Part of it, I think, and don't get mad if you're a Montembeault fan, part of it's the goaltending. You can't have the goaltending like you had tonight and give up 2 long-range shots and expect to win in this league. Can't happen.
Pierre, I mentioned, as I opened the show, the Canadiens became the first team in the National Hockey League to actually give up 2 goals in the first shot. And obviously, I said it sarcastically and I said it in jest. But Jacob Trouba scores up high, blocker side on Samuel Montembeault. The Canadiens challenged for offside. It was offside on the first shot of the hockey game. So that goal's called back. And then the Anaheim Ducks actually score, what was it, less than 40 seconds into the hockey game. A couple of seconds later, they end up scoring again on their first shot of the game. So I was okay with the first goal that went in. It was an odd man rush, and I don't think Montembeault could have done anything on that. But goals 2 and 3, 2 long shots, Pierre, one by Ratko Gudas, another one by Jackson Lacombe, both of them by defensemen, not screened, not tipped, not anything. The one by Lacombe in particular, he wasn't even positioned right. Like, he was on the one side of his net. He left middle open, and it actually beat him down the middle, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was really I'm disappointed in that. It was a long day just because I was expecting Montreal to do a little bit of something at the deadline. They weren't able to do it. I think there'll be some, and I've said this to you before, Tony, and I mean it sincerely. This year, of all the years, because of the parity in the league, because of the Olympics, because of the injury situations, it came down to which owner was going to be the best, which general manager was going to run a smart war room, and then which pro scouting staff was going to be able to convince their general manager and their owner, we got to do something in order to be competitive. And you saw some teams like Buffalo that went out and did what they had to do. And I think their team will be better off for it. And they were already good to begin with. And you saw, I think Colorado now with what they've been able to do, especially by getting Nicky Dubois and getting a Stanley Cup winner and getting Nazem Kadri back. They've changed the dynamic of their team, and I just don't know why Montreal. I don't know the price points, but I wish they would have done something. I really do.
Yeah, Kent Hughes, and we're going to get to it later, said that they had something significant that they spent a lot of time on, that they were working on, Pierre, but they were unable to get it done, and added, we can revisit it in the summer. Now, obviously, it's not a player that was traded who already has term going to another team. So it's a player that wasn't traded. The first thing that I thought about, and I have to tell you, the second that he said that was, oh, wow, they were working on this Robert Thomas deal. Now, I don't have that on any information whatsoever. The more the day went on, I thought, though, that there could have been a chance that maybe they were working on something that no one saw coming, and maybe a player that hadn't been talked about at all. But anyway, when Kent Hughes was asked about it, he said maybe one day over a beer in about 10 years from now type of thing. But Pierre, would you venture to guess, or do you have any information as to what that deal was?
No.
Yeah.
No, and I couldn't guess. I've been bullish with you about Robert Thomas for well over a year and a half. You know that.
Yes.
People that listen to your show know that. It became fashionable to be talking about Robert Thomas after Christmas this year, but I've been talking about him with you for over a year and a half. So I thought that would be a good fit. I thought that'd be a good fit for Montreal. And the price point was probably too high. Probably too high.
All right, Pierre, you know what? Before we move on to the game, I'm going to say this. 1 year ago, Kent Hughes told us at the NHL trade deadline, when he did not make a move, going into the trade deadline, Pierre, if you recall, a lot of people thought the Canadiens were going to be sellers.
Yep.
And it was year 3 of the rebuild. And Kent Hughes ended up telling us that Nick Suzuki went up to see him in his office and said, Kent, we like each other. We're friends. We're family. We're tight. Keep this group together. Don't trade anybody, even though some players were going to be unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. Like, for example, Christian Dvorak and Yoel Armia, which the Canadiens ended up losing 4-0 at the end of the season. And Kent said something to the effect of, Nick, go out and prove to me, you guys prove to me that you deserve to stay together and that I shouldn't make any trades. And you go out there and do it as well. And Suzuki carried the team on his back. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when trade deadline came around, the Canadiens didn't trade anybody, Pierre. They were happy. And I haven't talked to any players, so I'm not going to pretend that I did, but I can't imagine, Pierre, anyone being happy when the deadline passed today and they found out that they didn't add. And once again, we don't know the deals that were on the table or were not on the table. I understand the Canadiens, for example, not going in on Braden Shen. I wouldn't have either. That's just my opinion. I'd love to get yours. The New York Islanders ended up giving up a first, a third, a prospect, and Jonathan Drouin. And I said earlier today on television, I said, I believe that Oliver Kapanen at this stage of his career is better than 34-year-old Braden Shen at this stage of his career. Now, that's not to say that Kapanen will be better or would be better than Braden Shen in the playoffs should both teams make it. But I said to myself, if acquiring a Braden Shen would take away minutes from an Oliver Kapanen, then it's probably not worth it. And actually, Kent Hughes talked about that today. He said a general manager told him you can't buy experience, and these young players have to go through it. So, Pierre, on that, I would agree with him. Do you?
Yep. I have no issue with that. That's not
Okay.
what I was concerned about. I'm concerned more about the right side of their defense, the depth of their defense, and some of the physicality parts. I said this on Mitch Melnick's show today. Clearly, the Buffalo Sabres think there's a good chance they'll play Montreal in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but they probably think it. So if you watched any of the tapes, which most professional organizations will do, they'll watch other teams' playoff tapes, and you watch what Washington did to Montreal last year, and then you see what Buffalo did last night and into today. That is a Washington formula.
And that's a Florida Panthers formula too, Pierre.
That's what Vegas did by adding Nick Dowd. That's what Colorado did by adding Nick Roy. That's what they did by adding Nazem Kadri. So they're taking the Florida Panthers model. But Washington last year against Montreal, that's why I'm saying this. They watch the tape and they say, oh boy, let's just pulverize these guys. And that's, if they play, that's what will happen.
And Pierre, I told you that one of the things that I didn't like, and there are things that I understood and there are things that I agree with today, by the way, and I just talked about that, allowing a young player like a Kapanen to grow and experience the playoffs and not have another player take away responsibilities for him. But I said to you that one of the things I didn't like is I didn't understand going out to acquire a right-handed depth defenseman. Trevor Van Riemsdyk plays about 15 and a half minutes per game with the Washington Capitals. We know that the Canadiens don't give their sixth defenseman an awful lot of minutes, number one. Number two, the other thing I didn't like is you just said it. Last year, the Canadiens lost to Washington because Washington had more experience, true, because Washington had more depth, true, but also because Washington pummeled the Montreal Canadiens. Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson never got hit all season the way they got hit in the playoffs. Tom Wilson and Alex Ovechkin, I think it was in Game 4 at the Bell Center, obliterated Jake Evans and Alex Carrier in winning that game. And physicality and nastiness and size was a big part of the Capitals beating the Canadiens last year, and that didn't get better. So I have to ask you the question, Pierre. And I know you have a real nice relationship with Jeff Gordon, and I would imagine it's tough for you to answer, but I'll ask you anyway because you're a big boy. One of the reasons why Jeff Gordon lost his job in New York with the Rangers, and there were a couple of reasons. I mean, I think James Dolan, the owner of the Rangers, had said some nasty things about the Department of Player Safety, and I think Gordon and Davidson said to the league, you know what, we don't endorse what the owner said. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pierre. I'm just going by memory. But one of the things that happened on the ice was one night, the Washington Capitals and Tom Wilson laid a beatdown on Artemi Panarin and the New York Rangers. And the New York Post really gave it to the Rangers for basically having a soft team. And it was deemed that team was not physical enough, not big enough, not strong enough, and not nasty enough. And we're 4 years in, and 1 year ago, when the Canadiens got eliminated by the Washington Capitals, they said that they took note of the fact that they were physically manhandled. It would be something that they would address, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm confused.
So am I. So I can answer your question. So am I. It's why I'm a little bit disappointed tonight, because I do care about the team. I do think this is a team that's really well built for long-term success. I don't think that long-term success will be this year, unfortunately. But I do think that there's a big open window for this group because of the drafting that's gone on, some shrewd management decisions that have gone on, some really good coaching. So there's a lot to like. I just didn't like the fact that there was inactivity today. And even the last week, there was inactivity.
Pierre, you said you're starting to be a little worried because you thought it would be smoother.
Yep.
To the point that you're worried about making the playoffs?
Yep. I am. Wow. They're not home and cooled out by any stretch of the imagination. Columbus is getting Connor Garland for Columbus today. That was a good move for them. That helps them a ton. And they're playing with a whole lot of intensity. They're going to be they're probably going to make the wild card. I thought 5 teams from the Atlantic would be in the playoffs. Might be 4-4 because of Columbus. Really might be.
Pierre, in San Jose, the Canadiens gave up 6. Tonight, the Canadiens gave up 5. Ended up losing 6-5 in a shootout. Going into these games, there were only 8 teams that had given up more goals than the Canadiens. None of those teams are a playoff team. Mm-hmm. Their differential is nowhere close to what it should be for teams that are actually in the same kind of position as them. Mm-hmm. They're not very good on the penalty kill. They're getting very inconsistent goaltending. Pierre, even if they make the playoffs, they got to turn their game around and become a much better defensive team. And if they haven't done it already, like there's about 5 weeks left in the season, Pierre, maybe 6. I have to check the schedule. I think 6 weeks. Let's just call it 6 weeks. Pierre, can they find their defensive game in the next 6 weeks because they haven't already?
No, they can. For sure, they can do that. I've been part of teams where we've done that, and you can do that. It's just the guys have to pay attention. Tony, I'm more concerned about the physicality part with that defense. I'm really concerned about it because they don't play their 5 and 6 very often, and definitely 6 doesn't play. I think Jack played a little over 11 minutes tonight. You know,
Pierre, on the game tying goal by Chris Kreider, which was deflected. Someone said Montembeault was weak. No, he wasn't. It was a deflection.
No, that's a Kreider special.
That's a Kreider special. Yeah. But there's a common theme, Pierre. They don't clear the front of the net.
I'm aware. Yeah.
And
you're probably hearing my frustration because I'm watching the same thing you're watching. And it pains me because it's virtually this when the team doesn't look good, it's usually the same mistakes. It's the goalie looks small in net, 5 holes seems very large in net, and for whatever reason they can't clear the crease. That's a bad combo.
11:06 tonight for our Jack guy. But here's something. 10:46 for Oliver Kapanen. Pierre, I think he was under 10 minutes last game.
He had a little over 9 minutes.
Suzuki had 23 minutes. So the Canadiens here down the stretch with 6 weeks to go in the regular season are starting to play Oliver Kapanen a lot less than they ever played him before. which obviously means they have less confidence in him right now than they did at the beginning of the season. We know it's going to get tough for him because he's a rookie. It's tough in your rookie season. The playoffs are a different season. And by the way, the last month and a half of the regular season is a different season as well. So with that said, and there's been talk of a second line center for quite some time, you talked about the physicality aspect. We talked about not getting a depth right-handed shooting depth defenseman. If you're going to play Oliver Kapanen 10 minutes a game, shouldn't you have been looking for, I don't know, like even a Scott Lawton, who I would think you would probably, like, I'm just giving a name here, but shouldn't you have been looking for a second line centerman that you would at least trust to play 14 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game?
Yep. Yes. Again, I like this team. I think the team's good. I'm just trying to be somebody that's worked in the field and say there were places they could have made the team better.
You think they're built for the regular season?
They are built right now. They're built, but that's part of the process of building your team. It is. It's part getting that over the last hurdle. That's the hardest part. You can ask the Edmonton Oilers; they still aren't over the last hurdle. It's not easy to do. It's really hard. But one of the things, if you look at it realistically, what's the one thing this team could really use? More consistent physicality, because their best players are really good, but they're not overly large. So you got to find ways to create more opportunity for those players to survive a 7-game playoff series.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also, special thanks to Playground. It's hockey night at Playground. As if watching hockey wasn't thrilling enough, now every goal means more action on the felt. Before the puck drops, every poker table is randomly assigned a player from the Montreal team, and when your player scores, boom, Playground splash the next pot with up to $200 in chips. Catch every game on Playground's big screens all around the room, so you never miss a goal, a play, or a splash pot. Visit playground.ca/sickpodcast or click the link in the YouTube description to spin a virtual reel for a chance to win up to $100 in free play. Also, 4 big games, you want the best beers on your team, whether it's La Bittt Tibi IPA with its bold flavor, La Bittt Tibi Lager with its exceptional smoothness, or La Bittt Tibi Ultra Lager, which is ultra light and ultra refreshing. They always have a place on your team. La Bittt Tibi, brewed for special occasions. Please drink responsibly. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. All right, okay. Suzuki was in between Slavkovsky, back on the number 1 line on his right, and Caulfield on his left. Kapanen with Demidov on his right, Newhook on his left, Evans with Doc on his right, Bolduc on his left, Danault with Gallagher and Anderson, Matheson, Goalie, Hudson, Dobson, Jacky, Carrier, Samuel Montembeault in goal. Pierre, let's start with the good, all right? Okay, Cole Caulfield, who scored a couple, was obviously very good. He must have thought it was Saturday night tonight, but it wasn't because it was Friday night. He was very good, I thought. Juraj Slavkovsky, Pierre, hasn't been good since returning from the Olympics. I thought was a little bit better last game. Juraj played his best game since returning from the Olympics, I thought, tonight. I thought he made an incredible play on the goal that led to, on the Lane Hudson goal, just inside the blue lines with some silky smooth hands and some real good distribution. He finished the night with 21-13. He had only 1 shot on goal, but he missed the net 6 times. I mean, that's something that he's probably going to have to work on a little bit, and maybe his puck management. He finished the night with +1. Pierre, this was his best game since returning from the Olympics.
And that line was fantastic because they weren't very good in San Jose. And they weren't very good against the Islanders. They were good against Washington. But Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky is a much better fit than if you have Kirby Doc on the right side. It's just a much better fit.
Cole Caulfield, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points +2. Nick Suzuki, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points +1. Suzuki, by the way, won 16 of 28 draws for 57%. And Pierre, I thought he won some very important draws too.
He did. He was really bearing down tonight. There's no question about it. I thought Nick had a really good game, and you won't get a lot of credit for those face-off wins, but he was grinding on those face-offs. There's no question.
I thought it was a pretty good night at the office as well for Lane Hudson, who was responsible for 1 goal against. But
the turnover was bad, but outside of that, he was really good.
1 goal, 2 assists, a turnover, which led to the 4-2 goal for the Anaheim Ducks, like 1 minute into period number 3. But 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, plus 2 for Lane Hudson, 25-51. Noah Dobson with 2 assists in tonight's hockey game. Was a +1 as well. He played 24-56. Dobson was going tonight. He had 4 shots. He had 2 attempts blocked. He had 4 missed shots. So that was the good. By the way, I thought the line of Evans, Doc, and Bolduc had some flashes tonight, Pierre.
They did. I agree. Kirby looked better playing with those guys than he does playing with Suzuki and Caulfield. Looked more comfortable. So I agree with you on that. I agree 100%. It was a tough night for Newhook. I thought it was a tough night for Kapanen. I know Demidov scored in the shootout, but I thought it was not a great night for him either. I didn't like that line. I didn't like them very much.
Yeah, Newhook going up to that line, unfortunately, tonight did not pay dividends at all. I didn't like that line either, Pierre. Alex Newhook finishes the night -3.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was really apparent. So they still have some drawing board work to do. But, again, you got to get some goaltending. Tony, we've talked about this with Sam Montembeault. When he's not good, he looks small in net.
Yeah.
He looked small in net tonight, Tony. He did.
Pierre, I'm going to tell you right now, Jacob Fowler stopped 35 tonight for the Laval Rocket. They had a 4-2 win over the Rochester Americans. We had the game on Sick Media on the Sick Podcast Network. We're going to have the game as they host the Rochester Americans again tomorrow afternoon. It's another game that you can hear on Sick Media and the Sick Podcast with Cedric Blodet with the play-by-play, and of course Vincent Dumy with the color. Pierre, I'm willing to bet that Fowler is going to be back. This can't continue in Montembeault. It just can't. I mean, someone said to me, well, Dobish had a bad game last game too. Yes, he did. But prior to that, Dobish hadn't lost a game in regulation since the 9th of December. I mean, Samuel Montembeault can't put together 2 good games.
No, he can't. But it's not even that. He's not a small guy, as you know. I know you've met him and you've been here.
He's a good 6'3", Pierre. He's a good 6'3".
He's a
good 6'3", yeah.
You can't look small in the NHL and expect to be a good goalie. It just doesn't work, you know? And so, you go look at big guys. I know Pecorino was 6'6".
Yeah.
Pecorino did not look small in that. He was a big guy that looked big. Look at UC Saros. He's a small guy. UC Saros is a small guy that looks big in net. So, I mean, I don't get it. I don't know what – now, people – I'm not trying to say this is a goaltending coach problem because I'm not. But I want to know the question. Like I want the question answered. How come the goalie looks small in net? I want to know.
That's a great question. And I'm going to have a question, Pierre, tomorrow night. If the Canadiens don't make some roster changes, Pierre, it's the same 2 players that are out of the lineup. I'm not telling you that they're the be-all, end-all, and I'm not telling you that they're going to win the game with them in the lineup. But when you lose 2 games in a row on your first 2 games on the West Coast trip, and you give up 5 tonight, and you give up 6 the game before, and you're going to be playing in a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, I think you got to bring in some fresh legs and make a change or 2 to your lineup, don't you not, Pierre?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
you would be bringing in both Veleno and Texier?
I would. 100% I would. Look, you got to have some juice going into L.A. DJ Smith just got his first win as a coach there. Panarin is there right now. They're probably thinking we could get to the playoffs. They're probably thinking that, even though I'm a little surprised they didn't do anything of substance today. So, yeah, no, they better have some fresh legs and they're ready to go tomorrow against LA.
Oliver Kapanen is, once again, a young player. He's a rookie. They didn't give him a lot of ice tonight. Would it be beneficial at this stage of the season, or would it just hurt his confidence if you watched the game from above and maybe had a little bit of a mental break, him who was at the Olympics?
No, I don't think that'd be a bad thing at all. I think it's probably a really good call by you, honestly. He's one of the players I was thinking. Against San Jose, Tony, I think he played a little over 9 minutes.
Correct.
And then tonight he's
10:46.
just under 11 minutes. You're not going to hurt his confidence. He probably needs to sit down and just focus, re-energize his brain.
I think it would be the break would do 2 games in 2 nights. It's an unpopular opinion, but I'll say it anyway. But Brendan's the second guy that I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, Brendan is the second guy I would be thinking about too.
Okay, let's get to this. Let's get to the lineup actually for the Ducks if we can. Carlson, Gauthier, and Kreider, McTavish in between Seneca and Killorn, Paling with Harkins and Vetrano, Wash with Veal and Johnston, Lacombe, Trouba, Zellweger, Gudas, Mintyukov, and Moore, and it was Dostal in goal for the Anaheim Ducks. Let's take a look at the scoring. Pierre, there's an odd man rush there, and Cutter Gauthier puts the Anaheim Ducks up 39 seconds into the game. And you talked about Samuel Montembeault. I'm not going to blame him on it, Pierre. I thought it was I didn't think he had much of a chance on it, but prior to that, he got beat by the Trouba one that the Canadiens challenged for offside, and it was offside. You talked about there's something about Montembeault. There's something about Montembeault with first shots of the game too. What does that tell you when a goalie has given up? I think maybe the first goal of the hockey game on the first shot probably 6-7 times this year.
He's probably doubting himself when he's going in the net. He probably doubts himself. And that must be a very uncomfortable feeling for the player. It really must be. I will say this, though. Anaheim has probably one of the top lines in the league with Kreider, Gauthier, and Carlson. Leo Carlson is a tremendous player. He's a second overall pick. Cutter Gauthier, that was a terrible mistake made by a very young front office in Philadelphia. It's a terrible, terrible mistake. And Chris Kreider, I cannot believe to this day that the New York Rangers traded Chris Kreider. I cannot to this day believe it. So that line is just unbelievably talented. They're extremely good offensively. Kreider's got a conscience. Gauthier keeps getting better as a defensive player. He was a natural center iceman when he played at Boston College. And Leo Carlson he's one of the top 10 players in the National Hockey League that nobody even knows about.
Yeah. Nick Suzuki scores Pierre his 20th of the season. That was a tic-tac-toe goal.
Yes, it was. Part of that was because of Uri being really strong on the boards. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a good play by Uri, and that's what he does so well for that group. And Nick, you could see just the energy and the passion after he scored. He was amped up. He was ready. He was excited.
I think I had something here on Caulfield. Players with 20-plus goals and 50-plus assists this season, Pierre, in the National Hockey League. David Pastrnak, Nikita Kucherov, Macklin Celebrini, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nick Suzuki, 7 players, Pierre. That's the list. That's a tweet from William Dubé, who does a great job, by the way, on X. Once again, Pastrnak, Kucherov, Celebrini, McKinnon, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Suzuki. That's elite company, Pierre.
That's top end. I mean, those are the best players in the league.
Yeah, and you're definitely right about that, Pierre. Lane Hudson puts the Canadiens up by a score of 2-1 on the power play once again. Those are some pretty good hands from Uri Slafkovsky, Pierre.
Yeah, I like the hands from Slafkovsky, but I also like the fact that Lane shot the puck. I was saying, please don't pass the puck.
Yeah.
You're in an unbelievably prime scoring area. He did shoot the puck, which is great for him.
I think Dostal should have had that one.
He should have, but it doesn't matter. Lane shot the puck. He should have had that.
The Ducks get the puck back to the point. I mean, this is unbelievable. I think Montembeault had just made 2 big stops off of Cutter Gauthier, and especially one right on the doorstep off Leo Carlson.
Yep.
And then Gouda scores a goal that looks like it goes to the top of the net. But when they showed the replay, Pierre, that was a very stoppable shot.
Oh, boy, was it ever. And, I don't know which feed you were watching, but I had it on in English. And they made it seem like that was Robert Gordon Orr shooting the puck from the point, like the velocity on the shot. I'm like, whoa, slow down here. Let's just take a deep breath. It was a good shot, but it's not.
No, I watched the game in French, and They checked to see if Montembeault was screened. And he has to stop that. And then speaking of having to stop it, Pierre, 12 minutes and 15 seconds at the period number 2, Jackson Lacombe, Pierre, on the power play. I mean, Montembeault lost the middle of his net. Like, he lost the middle of his net.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
Trying to check here in the second period. I just want to make sure. I think it was Josh Anderson, Pierre, who took an interference call on Ratko Gudas in the offensive zone, which led to that Jackson Lacombe goal on the power play. That was a bad penalty, Pierre.
Yeah, it was. And I think Jake lost a face-off too, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a lot. It was like it was a bad situation all around for Montreal in that situation.
We'll continue with the scoring. Leo Carlson, 35 seconds into period number 3. That's Lane mishandling the puck, Pierre, and juggling it in the neutral zone.
Yes. Yeah, and it's to the wrong guy, obviously. It was a big night for Carlson. It was a huge night for Kreider, big night for Gauthier. I mean, you can't make mistakes against those top players, and obviously Lane made a mistake.
Cole Caulfield, Pierre, does what Cole Caulfield does best. 8:41, just over 8 minutes later, he narrows the lead. Alex Carrier just gets his shot away, and it has eyes, and he ties it at 4. Yeah. And Cole Caulfield, Pierre, I don't know how he deflected Noah Dobson's shot, but he got a piece of it. Goal scorers just seem to get a piece of pucks, that other players just can't. I mean, and he scores a goal. The Canadiens, Pierre, going into tonight's hockey game, led the National Hockey League in come from behind wins with 19. Interesting stat. The Anaheim Ducks actually were second at 18, but the Canadiens weren't able to hang on because as the Anaheim Ducks pull their goaltender, there's a shot which is deflected by Kreider, and Mike Matheson, I believe, was nearby. He's got to do a better job of tying him up here.
He does. Michael was the guy, the guilty party. They're not doing a very good job tying up on Kreider. The other thing, too, on that, if you look at Montreal tonight, early on in the first period, they gave up 2 goals. Obviously, one didn't count, but they still gave up 2. Then you look at the goal by Kreider at the end of the game. They get into this situation where they're giving up either early goals or late goals, and good teams don't do that. They don't do that, and they got to get better at that. They really do.
They go to overtime, Pierre, and Olin Zellweger gets called 2 minutes for tripping Lane Hudson, and I said to myself, that's it. This is it. This is the opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, I know that offensively, Hudson and Dobson had a pretty big game, but I'm wondering your thoughts to go to, at one point on that power play, 2 forwards, Slafkovsky and Suzuki, with 2 defensemen, Dobson and Hudson, and taking Cole Caulfield, the hot stick, off the ice.
I'm glad you brought it up. I wouldn't have done that because it doesn't matter what Anaheim does in terms of affecting you in the standing. It's an East versus West game. 2 different conferences, 2 different divisions. So I would have loaded up. I'd have gone with 3 forwards and 1 D, but that's just me. And I've thought about it a lot. And, everybody's got their own philosophy. But I really would have thought about doing that. The one other thing that allowed...
Pierre, I look at it from another perspective, if you don't mind, is Cole Caulfield scored 2 goals in a span of 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, there's no question.
He's looking for his hat trick. Why is he not on the ice on the power play?
It's one of the reasons why I thought he should have been at the Olympics for the Americans, because of his ability in overtime in particular and in special team situations. But, Tony, the one other thing that I think is really important about this with Montreal, like, they had chances. Demidov gets a breakaway.
Yes.
Dostal shuts the door on him. And they had another chance to...
Big stop. He made a big stop, yeah.
He did. He made a big stop. And there was another opportunity, too, and I'm remiss right now.
Slafkovsky.
What's that?
Slafkovsky was the other one.
So there were 2 great opportunities, and they didn't capitalize on them.
No, they didn't. And you know what? That's a big story of the game as well. Dostal was not great by any means, but he made the big save to keep his team in the game and to win his team the game. And you know what? And then once again, he was just a little bit better in the shootout as well. Pierre, Video PC says, Pierre's not happy tonight. And Pierre, you talked about it starting the show, and for those who missed it, you were disappointed today with what happened with trade deadline or the lack of activity from the Montreal Canadiens. You believe it's a missed opportunity?
Yeah, I do. I really think it's an opportunity missed. I really do. I don't know what the price points were on players, but I can tell you right now, there were a lot of teams that made deals that made their teams better. Colorado made their team better. Detroit made their team better. Buffalo made their team better. There were a lot of teams that made their team. I think Anaheim made their team better. John Carlson, look at the right side of their defense now. You got Radko Gudas, you got John Carlson, and you got Jacob Trouba. Look at the right side of their defense. I mean, come on. You gotta, if you want to play in the game, sometimes you got to move extra guys. You can't just be greedy with prospects and draft picks.
Yeah,
you have to.
You know, Pierre, when we talked about closing out the game and the fact the Canadiens weren't able to do it, Brendan Gallagher at the end of the game, this isn't the time of the year where you're going to look at positives. It's disappointing to not close out these games. We need to do a better job. It's not as difficult as we're making it right now. We understand the mistakes that we're making, and it just needs to be corrected. These are important points we wish we could have back, but we can't. Going forward, I just think we need to make these corrections.
They better bring an A game tomorrow. I'll tell you that, Tony. I mean that. I'm very concerned right now.
Pierre, I'm very concerned the way they defend, period. And I've been very concerned about the way they defend over the last couple of years. Now, look, I got to tell you something. They obviously have to find a better balance between playing as well offensively as they do and scoring goals with as much ease as they do. I think tonight was the 10th game in the row that they scored 3 or more. And when you end up playing a lot tighter defensively, Pierre, you end up compromising on offense. So they might lose a little bit, but they have to find a balance in their game. There's no balance in their game, Pierre. It's they have the puck, they're good. They don't have the puck, they're not.
No, I agree.
That's not good.
That. Nope, it's not good.
All right, okay. More from Brendan Gallagher. Marty St. Louis. Closing out games, 5 on 6. We couldn't do it again tonight. I'm looking for guys that can do it. Well, you're going to have to look in your locker room, Marty, because you can't go out and get some of those players from around the league.
Can you just stop for 1 second? This is why. If people say, well, why is McGuire mad tonight? I didn't know what the coach was going to say. That's why I'm mad. The coach knows. The coach knows. And when you have a team that's played as well as Montreal has most of this year, your job as a manager is to try to insulate what's been good and build on it. And I don't know what the price points are. I think these guys have done a fantastic job. I think they had a bad trade deadline. I really do. I think they had a bad trade deadline.
I know Texier's missed some shootouts. But considering that there's points that can be had there, is it a pensez-y bien before you take him out of the lineup?
I have to think about that.
By the way, the Ducks are a perfect 8-0 in the shootout, Pierre.
You know what else the Ducks are? When they have a lead going into the third period, they're perfect the whole year. It's unbelievable.
They got a great coach, Pierre.
So the best free agent signing of last summer, and I said it on your show, is Joel Quenneville. And the reason why that people were all upset because of all the stuff that went on in Chicago, I understand. It's not a political game. It's hockey. Joel paid his price. He paid the penance. He really did. He went and did a lot of different stuff to try to make sure that this never happened again. And the Samueli family are first-class people, and they did a lot of thorough research. And Joel Quenneville's making a massive difference in Anaheim.
I want to tell you a story. Last week, he won his 1,000th NHL game, second all-time to your great friend, the great Scotty Bowman.
Yep.
You know what the Ducks got him? Got him
cigars.
They got him a beautiful big bottle of wine.
Okay.
With the number 1,000 at the front of it. And you know what was printed in the back?
No.
All the coaches that he's worked with in his career.
Wow.
All their names.
Really
That's
cool.
pretty cool, eh?
Very cool.
And I could tell you another thing. Based on the information I have, he reached out to those coaches to thank them for helping him get to 1,000 wins.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And that I think I could be at liberty of saying it, but it's Stefan Waite who told me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, he and Stefan had a lot of success in Chicago.
They definitely did. He's a great coach. And Stefan Waite was a great goalie coach, not only for the Chicago Blackhawks in winning 3 Stanley Cups, but
Montreal.
He did great work with Carey Price. Just
Sure
great work. Yeah.
Sure
I would have loved to see him get the opportunity to work with Jacob Fowler if he would have wanted it. I don't know if he would have or not, but I would have loved to see him get the opportunity to work with Jacob Fowler. All right. Okay. We're going to get to some questions and we're going to get to some answers. Or we're going to try and give you some answers. But first and foremost, do we have by the way, here's a bad stat. It's not a good one. I thought Nick Suzuki was good tonight. I said that. I thought Nick Suzuki was good tonight. I thought he won some important draws. Offensively, I loved his line tonight. Unfortunately, Nick struggles in the shootouts. He's 0 for 7 for his last 17 now, I believe. All right. Can we hear from Kent Hughes?
Départ, notre objectif était toujours d'essayer de trouver des échanges qui avancent notre objectif principal, qui demeure la même, c'est de bâtir une équipe capable de gagner à long terme. On a dépensé beaucoup de temps sur un dossier en particulier, puis c'est allé jusqu'aux dernières minutes, ça n'a pas réussi. Mais ça ne nous empêche pas de le revisiter dans l'été.
There you have it. That's pretty transparent, though, Pierre? We spent a lot of
good.
time.
I like it, actually. It's very transparent. The only thing that's different from when I used to do it, we didn't call them dossiers. We call them trades.
Yeah. So he says we spent a lot of time on one file in particular. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it done, but we can revisit in the offseason.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Ryan Whitney tweeted out Hudson not being on the 4-on-3 power play in Montreal for Montreal in overtime makes zero sense to me. I think that he wasn't at one point and then he was, right?
Yes.
I believe, yeah. And then Cole Caulfield wasn't at one point or was at one point and then he wasn't after. All right, okay. Let's get to some questions. A lot of people are sending us some real kind words, Pierre, for the long day that we had. And why don't you tell people, Pierre, before we get some of these questions, and the Cavaleros will bring up the questions for us, why don't you tell people about your day, Pierre?
Oh, I had a fantastic day. I'm down here in Lake Placid, New York, covering the ECAC Women's Final Four. This year, it was Quinnipiac, it was Yale, it was Princeton. Phenomenal. I mean, just great hockey. It blew me away how good the hockey was. And Cornell was a 4th team. I should have added them in. Yale beat Cornell. Quinnipiac beat Princeton in overtime. Most of the women that I saw, Tony, I have to tell you, they will, I would say a good portion will be playing in the PWHL. Looks like there's going to be at least 2 expansion teams, and I'm hearing this weekend anyways there may be 4, and if there are, a lot of these young ladies will be playing. The caliber of play was so high.
So you called 2 games today, Pierre?
I called 2 games today, yeah.
So hold on a second. Your day started off, though, with Jimmy Murphy, I believe.
Oh, no, way before Jimmy. I was doing stuff for CBS Sports very early this morning because of the trade deadline, yeah.
CBS Sports. What else did you do? I think people want to.
Rivers in Toronto, which I do all the time.
All right.
Jimmy Murphy, and then I was at the rink doing the 2 games. And now
okay. Pretty cool. All right. Okay. So I want to thank everyone for actually watching Le Sick podcast earlier this morning en français à 10h le matin. I went until noon on that one. And then at noon, we started up a brand new stream on YouTube. And we kicked off a show in English for NHL trade deadline coverage. I did probably the first 15 minutes or so, maybe 10, 15 minutes, then handed it off to Eric Koziel, who was joined by Stu Cowan at a distance. Brian Wild came in studio. Then Shane Gaumont took over. Matt O'Hane was there. Simo the Snake Boisvert did a segment at a distance as well. And then I joined a little bit later on. I made my way to TVA Sports. I was on television between 1 and 3:30, or about 1:15 and 3:30 or 3:45 p.m. At 3:45, I jumped on with Shane, with Matt, and with Brian Wild, and we went all the way until 5 p.m. So I want to thank everyone from all of our hosts, all of our collaborators, all of our sponsors. Patisserie Lasalle sent over Zeppelis for dessert. They sent over lasagna. They sent over meatballs. It was unbelievable. The Gibo Orange Julep sent over burgers, and they sent over poutines, and they sent over hot dogs. So we were well nourished. They took care of everyone. But thank you to everyone who watched us today, because we had a good, between the French show and the trade deadline show, we had a good 30,000+ views on YouTube alone. That's not counting Twitter. That's not counting Facebook. That's not counting the audio listens. And that's it. And then I did my TV hit at 5:30 p.m., made my way over to Cogeco Radio 98.5 with Mario Langlois, did a hit between 7 and 8:30 p.m. on the radio, made my way back home, watched the game, and here we are doing the Habs post-game show. So thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate all the kind words. All right, without further ado, let's bring up some of the questions. The Rick Roller one says, why are we so patient with Montembeault? Pierre, what are the options?
The only other option right now was, well, it's not anymore. You could have made a trade for a goalie and moved Montembeault out, or you'd bring up Jacob Fowler. That's it right now.
Do you end up trading your goalie when his stats are among the worst in the National Hockey League? I never thought that this management group was actually going to trade an asset when the asset was at a low. Having said that, let's be honest here. It's a matter of time. One between Montembeault and Dobesh will likely not be here at some point next season, because Jacob Fowler likely will.
I agree. No, the ball's going to be Jacob Fowler's for a long time. It's going to be, I can't predict if he's going to be better than Carey Price or not, but he's going to be really good. He's going to be really, really good.
All right. Okay. Question number 2. Vinny Poldy says, Tony, Pierre, do you think Liney plays now that the trade deadline is over? And if yes, when do you think they insert him? Pierre, I don't know if you heard Kent Hughes asked about Patrick Liney. You know, he said he's still part of the team. He's still a player that's at the disposition of the coaching staff. Yes, we worked with his agent to try and find a move for him, but he wasn't moved, and he's here, and he's going to be available to the coach. Pierre, they said that he still hasn't been activated. He still doesn't have the green light, but he's been practicing with a contact jersey for the last month and a half, Pierre.
Yeah, I told you a long time ago I didn't see where he fit on this team, and I still believe that. I just don't know where he fits. Doesn't mean he won't get an opportunity to play, but I just don't know where he fits.
I kind of get the feeling that there's going to have to be several injuries for him to get in, because if that doesn't happen, I don't see him getting in here.
The way they're playing, Tony, the way they're playing right now, they're going to be in a dogfight to make the playoffs. If this keeps up, and heaven forbid they lose to LA tomorrow or tonight, depending where you are, that's going to be a problem.
They got 2 games versus the Columbus Blue Jackets between now and the end of the year. One at home, one on the road. The one on the road, I believe, is going to be on April 11 or something like that. Next week on March 11th, they're in Ottawa. The week after, they have Boston. They have Detroit. Like I've identified, Pierre, obviously it's a very easy thing to do, but every game's going to be important. But Wednesday, March 11 in Ottawa is huge. Tuesday, March 17, when they host the Bruins, is huge. 2 nights later, the 19th, they're in Detroit. Huge. By the way, Dylan Larkin went down with an injury tonight. We don't know the extent of it.
And they lost. Detroit lost, and Dylan got hurt.
The 26th, on the 26th, they host Columbus. Huge. And on April 11, they host Columbus again. So the good news is, Pierre, the 2 games versus Columbus are in Montreal. That's good news, because the Canadiens, I don't think, have a lot of success with that cannon in Columbus. But those are going to be some really, really big games. But
Yeah.
you got to win this game tomorrow night, Pierre. You can't lose this game in Los Angeles. You can't go 0 for 3 on this road trip.
No, that's why I'm saying, like, they put themselves in a tough spot now. They really have.
Let's get to a couple of other questions. Hub City icon, any reason why the staff seems to be undying faith, has to have undying faith in Alex Carrier?
They don't have any other options on the right side. This is why I said they had
That
to
is
make
correct.
a trade to upgrade on the right side. I'll keep saying it.
Yeah.
You
That
know, Tony, how long have I been talking about this? For a long time?
Yeah. Highway 40 Film says, sorry, Tony, but he sent a message via Twitter. I'm not tuning in tonight. I'm really peeved off, he says. I can't take it. So he's not very happy. And you're right, Pierre. They don't have better options on the right side.
They don't.
They got Dobson and then they got Carrier, and that's what it is. And you know what? Goolie's going to have to play his offside. There's no other choice. And it's too late now to add anyone, unless, of course, Pierre, they're planning on adding David Reinbacher, who had a goal tonight, was a +3, and Pascal Vincent says that all David Reinbacher has to do is reinforce himself physically, Pierre, and get stronger so that he's able to contain big NHL forwards.
That's not going to happen this year. That'll happen in the offseason. But I agree with the coach. 100% agree with him.
You're right, Pierre. That's when it happens. It happens in the gym, and it happens in the offseason. All right, next question. James Walsh says, question for Pierre. Does he think that adding Thomas would cap the Habs out as a soft team like the Leafs?
You mean that Robert's a soft player? And
Does he not think that adding Thomas would cap the Habs out as a soft team like the Leafs?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I watch Robert play a lot of hockey. He takes hits to make plays. Is he a guy that's going to initiate a lot of contact? No, but he's an amazingly skillful player. Hey, they didn't get him. So I don't know. Maybe they were working on trying to get him. The truth of the matter is Robert Thomas would have helped this team.
No doubt about it. Let's get to 3 more questions, Pierre, and we'll call it a night. We thank you very much. Suga Show says, Pierre, do you think Montembeault is the worst goalie in the National Hockey League right now? I saw a stat, Pierre, where I believe he's the 3rd least effective goaltender in the National Hockey League from low danger scoring chances from far. I'm going to say something, and by all means, I'm not saying it to mock anybody. I'm not saying it to ridicule anyone. I don't know how his eyesight is, but it just seems to me that there's a lot of shots that beat him from far out.
Yeah, the one thing that the writer said, be honest. I'll always be honest with you. That's why I do this show. I really care about Tony. I really care about the show, and I really care about the Montreal community in particular. So I'm not about to go in and not be transparent. I do not think he's one of the best goalies in the league. I don't think he's the worst goalie in the league, but I think he's closer to the worst than he is to the best.
2 more questions, Pierre. Napominis sends over 279. Thank you. If only the Canadiens goalies had a goals against average that was that low. 10 goals in 2 games for 1 point. That's a great way of putting it. They scored 10 goals in 2 games. They got 1 point.
Yep, we agree. It's a lot. I hate to bring up Toronto on a Montreal show. Toronto's played 6 games since they've been back. Total of 12 points. They've taken 2 out of 12 points.
You know, I was going to say when Toronto's played their worst hockey, but they have played it now. But you know that in years past, when Toronto would lose games and Edmonton would lose games, and we would watch the way they lost, and we said that team will never have success in the playoffs playing that way.
Yep.
That's the way the Canadiens have played the last 2 games.
So we agree, and this is why I'm concerned. This is why I'm sullen tonight. There was nothing done at the trade deadline, and I'm watching the team play, and it's almost like it's imploding. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope tomorrow they go out in LA and they kick some butt. But I don't know if they got it in them. I really don't.
Last question of the night. LA Joe Gaming sends over $2. Monty can't play another game for Montreal. He's going to play again. I mean, come on. He's going to play again, but Pierre, would it get to the point where next week when the Canadiens host Toronto and they visit Ottawa, that you would consider going with Dobish for both games, or consider calling up Jacob Fowler for playing that very important game in Ottawa?
I'd consider bringing up Jacob Fowler, depending on how Dobich does here tomorrow. I got to think Dobich is playing against LA. I have to believe that he's playing against LA.
I would hope so. A shout out to Insta Customs, Montreal's. Of course, he will. 2 games in 2 nights. A shout out to Insta Custom, Montreal's highest rated print shop with a 4.9 star Google rating and over 3,000 reviews. Order today, printed today, picked or shipped today. Custom T-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Fast, professional, and done right. Visit instacustoms.com or stop by their downtown Montreal location whenever you get a chance. Maybe stop by even tomorrow. The Canadiens are in Los Angeles tomorrow versus the Kings. You want to get in on the action, go all the way with Betway, get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Pierre, I'm going to ask you this once the playoffs start. The same question I'm going to ask you right now, but because trade deadline come and went, I'm going to ask you right now. If I were to ask you right now on this Saturday, March 7th, after trade deadline, barring injuries and everyone's healthy, what your Stanley Cup final would be, what would you say?
I would have Colorado on one side and I'd have Tampa on the other.
Colorado and Tampa. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody wants to play the Sabres. But you're right.
My concern for them is
experience.
Not a lot of playoff experience there.
Yeah.
And the goaltender has never played an NHL playoff game ever.
You know why Tampa's dangerous?
Yeah.
A, because they're good. B, because their coach is excellent. But C, because during the Olympics, Kucherov rested.
The goalie didn't play.
Kucherov rested. Yeah. Vasilevsky rested. Cirelli rested. Braden Point rested. Their best players were off.
I agree. Buffalo is really going to be a beast. The problem I still think they're going to have inexperience. This will be an amazing learning year for them. Now, maybe they'll be better than I thought, but Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has never played an NHL playoff game. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're right about that. And Jakub Dobich hasn't played too many, Pierre. He came in last year when Montembeault was hurt. He hasn't played too many.
You got a little taste. You got a little taste of it, and that helps a little bit towards the experience part.
Pierre, long day for you, long day for me. Here we go. SLR JC is my rock. Pierre, would you wish my mom, Barbara, a happy birthday? She's turning 70 soon, and she loves the show.
Oh, Barbara, happy birthday. What a nice thing from your son. That's so beautiful. Happy birthday. That's great. Thank you for writing in. I love doing that. That's fantastic.
Happy birthday, Barbara. All the best. Thank you for supporting us. We very much appreciate it because, listen, we try our best. And at the end of the day, without you, none of this would be possible. If people like Barbara choose to stay away and not tune into our podcast, well, we're going to be doing it in front of nobody. And if we're doing it in front of nobody, it's not going to last very long. So we're very fortunate. We have a very, very loyal following. We thank you very much for that. I can tell you, we try really hard. We work really hard. We put in hours that some others aren't willing to put in. We invest money that some others aren't willing to invest. We take certain chances that others aren't willing to take. And we don't cheat the system. We're very honest the way we do our stuff, and we take it personally, and we take it professionally, and we try our best. So thank you very much for being there. Pierre, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week on Tuesday after the Canadiens play the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Thanks a lot, Tony. I really appreciate it. Barbara, happy birthday, Barbara.
Happy birthday, Barbara. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Barbara. Happy birthday to you. Ma chère Barbara, c'est à ton tour de te laisser parler d'amour. Ma chère Barbara, c'est à ton tour de te laisser parler là d'amour. Tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri, tanti auguri, tanti auguri a te. Feliz compleanno, Barbara. Feliz. Thanks for watching, everyone. For the Cavalleros at Master Control, once again, Unfortunately, Canadians did not win the trade deadline, nor did they win the hockey game. I'm glad to say that we at the Sick Podcast, compared to all things considering for those who are doing the same kind of podcast as us, we won the day. And we plan on winning tomorrow, and we plan on winning the week, and we plan on winning the month, and we plan on winning the end game. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we plan on finishing the marathon in record time and winning that too. Thank you very much. Once again, we can't do it without you. You're all the best. I love you. Have a good night and have a great weekend. Hopefully the Canadiens bounce back tomorrow night. They're going to need it because losing sucks. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.